Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a walk through Kings Canyon. Today, we're going to be following up the video Welcome to Kings Canyon as we walk through the map of Kings Canyon and have a little bit of a discussion with the former lead level designer and design director of Apex Legends, Jason McCord. Jason, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am doing pretty great. In fact, I don't think I could be doing much better given that we get to do this today. This is really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's actually been a minute since I've played this game, so I'm excited to get back in there and look at it again.
Yeah, when was the last time you actually did play on Apex in general, just like casually?
Um, Probably season 18 or 19.
Okay, that wasn't that
I
long
just
ago. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't too long. I mean, I jump in occasionally, especially when something new comes out. I love to check it out and just see
Yeah, there were
if it's
two.
like,
Yeah,
you know,
there were two big map updates there. You had World's Edge and
yeah,
you had Stormpoint. They were both pretty good too. So
yeah.
fair, fair. All right. So before we get into the map itself, why don't you just give a quick introduction on yourself and your history? I know you did that in the video, but just in case anybody here didn't watch that, you want to give a bit of an introduction to yourself and your time on Apex before we get started?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I started as a level designer in 2004 at Activision, at Gray Matter and Treyarch, working on some Call of Duty games. Um, Call of Duty 2, Big Red 1, Call of Duty 3, World at War, and then I transitioned over to transitioned over to Infinity Ward to work on Modern Warfare 2, and sort of you know, fell in love with that team, and then a bunch of us after that went and started Respawn. So I was there at Respawn from day one. So I worked on Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2. I got promoted to lead, so I did a bunch of lead work on Titanfall 2, and then on to Apex and got promoted to design director in season 4. And I think I was there from 4 until 11. And then I left after that to start a new company called Wildlight Entertainment. That's where
It's,
I am now.
it's still no leaks, right? You're not going to give me that. No.
Still no leaks. We'll see how today goes. See
I'll
if I can keep my
I'll
mouth shut.
get you with Ose. I'll get you with Ose. Okay. One of you's got to say it eventually. I I swear, if I get to Welcome to Olympus and I still don't have an idea of what Wildlight is doing, I'm gonna be mad.
It's very possible.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started on the map itself? We'll go ahead and drop somewhere. We'll talk a little bit about the map, and we'll also answer a few questions if we can as we go through. So let's go ahead and get started.
Cool.
Now, yeah, you played in season 18-19, so you've seen a lot of the more recent changes to the game. But did you know what happened in season 20 of the game?
Um, I definitely was aware when it launched, but I can't think about what you're gonna say.
Oh, it's okay.
What are you
Well,
referencing?
you will find out when we get in. Then it's pretty obvious once you get into the map. But yeah, the season 20 change was I'd say was probably the biggest change to Apex in forever. Yeah, forever. Definitely forever. Why am I on World's Edge? Wait, pause.
Yeah.
Wait, where's Rodney?
Hello, my name's Rodney. My name's Rodney Reese.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, so what was that about? Like bigger rooms, keep everything from the center. I swear it was on Kings Canyon.
I did really
Yeah.
like that talk with him. Rodney's so good at remembering all those details, even though he did all that so long ago.
Actually, can you leave the match real quick? It'll make it go faster.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, Rodney was really good about that. I was amazed by what he was able to talk about. Now, let me put it on the correct map. I can't believe I didn't set that up. My God. I didn't even put it on no ring. I'm just like... Can't be a good stream without some scuff.
Yeah, so let's see. I know about the like legend perks.
Okay, yeah, that was
Um,
the thing I was referencing specifically.
yeah, that was 20? I thought that
Yeah,
was
that was 20.
19, maybe. Oh, okay, yeah. I think I'm up to date then.
Now, season 19, there was no like major system changes. It was the map update to Stormpoint.
Hmm.
Season 18 was, I guess, a gameplay update with a new survival item, the evac towers.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that one was also just another map update focused one. So the only like major system change we've had recently was season 20.
Right.
Okay, now we're on the
It's
correct
kind of
map. We're good.
that's kind of how it goes, you know. Like, I mean, I haven't. I don't know what their production schedule looks like. Obviously, I haven't been there for a couple years now, but it kind of goes with a live game. You have big things coming, and then you spend a lot of time on those big things, and in between, you kind of just have to kind of do some smaller stuff, just so that your production schedule doesn't explode.
That's fair. Ooh, we're playing Ballistic. Did you like Ballistic when he came out?
Yeah, I'm not actually gonna.
You don't have to comment on it in particular, but like, I was just asking if you enjoyed playing them. That was it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I gotta say, it was really fun to have like a older character design in this game. I think a lot of the characters are roughly go towards the younger end, don't they?
Yeah.
Especially at the start.
Definitely intentional.
Yeah.
It's like,
Intentional?
yeah, I mean, the player base here is like younger. You don't want to have a bunch of old people running around.
Oh, okay, fair. Why don't you choose where we should start off? Pick wherever you like.
All right, let's start up here in this corner.
Them with
Ooh, over at Rig.
I think this is the first zone that I worked on. Obviously, it's a lot different now, but
Yeah, this is the
like I was
wetlands
saying
area,
in our
right?
yeah, like I was saying in our video, like right over here is like the first spot that I actually put more than just a block out into.
Fair enough, fair enough. Real quick, while I'm just sitting here for a second, I'm going to quickly turn you up so it's a little easier for everybody to hear you. Let me just do that real quick. There we go. Could you talk a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. How do I sound now?
Okay, you sound good. Let me just turn down... Oh, I almost left the match. Let me turn down game audio a little bit. There we go. Lovely. All right. So, yeah, we're currently in Relay, which has had some changes since the first release. Do you remember what the changes were, or no?
Well, I remember we took out a bunch of these buildings at one point.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot less dense than it once was.
Well, we had this building out here in the distance that was pretty spicy. The one that was like over there.
Oh, I gotta turn on.
Remember?
I have my HUD off, so I can't see your ping.
Oh, really? There's like
Yeah.
out here in this it's so weird. I want to like no clip around.
Unfortunately, we cannot do that.
Yeah. Yeah, like over here in the right off this cliff here, there was like a big spire rock with like a building on it with a bunch of zip lines to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. It's definitely more simplified nowadays, isn't it?
I think this is mostly the same over here.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
Yeah.
Basically, the main thing they did was just like make like clear sides on buildings. It's really the biggest change that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while we're sitting down here, why don't we... Do you want to take a viewer question first, or do you want to take a prepared question? What do you think?
Dealer's choice, whatever you got.
Dealer's choice? Okay. Since we do have a few people hanging around, we'll do a viewer question first, and then after we look at let's we walk around a little bit more, we'll take one of the prepared questions. So, oh, actually, we just got one from Con5532. That sounds interesting. So, were there any personally added details or requirements that were added to make the map a part of the Titanfall universe? For example, the styling of the buildings, or even the layout of the general map.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think whenever we realized that we were making a new IP out of this and it wasn't going to be just Titanfall Battle Royale, we had to ask ourselves that question if we were gonna keep it in the universe at all or not. Though I don't think it took very long because I mean, as you can see, all these buildings, like this is from Titanfall. I mean, almost every building in this area is a Titanfall building. And all the guns, or not all, but a lot of the launch guns were Titanfall guns. A lot of the abilities were Titanfall abilities. Bloodhound's ping is like just another version of the sonar knife. So all that stuff was like, yeah, I think we almost have to make it a part of the universe, but not try to like. Also, we don't want to be called Titanfall battle royale or anything because we didn't want the community to be upset that this was their Titanfall game when it's clearly not a Titanfall game.
Yeah, I think that's the
So,
label that it got eventually. Anyways, was like Titanfall Battle Royale, wasn't it?
I don't think so. Not from us.
Well,
We
like
we
from
never
like
said
not
that.
not in internally, but externally when it was announced.
I don't. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can't really
Yeah.
control what the press is gonna say, and they're gonna say Respawn adds new battle royale in Titanfall universe. And we didn't like try to make that not a thing. We just didn't lean into it super hard. The sort of thinking at Respawn um, at the time was, look, Titanfall 2 didn't sell that well, so the the Titanfall fan base is pretty small, like very dedicated and very loyal, but still pretty small compared to bigger games. So it's probably not gonna do us a lot of good to be like a Titanfall battle royale. Like Titanfall fans will just be mad that there's no Titans in it, and people that don't know what Titanfall is will just be like, I don't know what that is, so why do I care? So
Okay.
that was the thinking. And then what did we actually do? It came naturally, I think. Like the Leviathans were dropped into the map to add some flavor, and
Where are
obviously
they?
that's like
There they are.
that's the same universe. Oh, they're over there now? Look at
Yeah,
that.
they're over there. There's one over here. I think there's a few of them on either side of the map, but yeah, there's one over here. There he is. There's the fella.
Oh, the pings don't.
Oh, you
Oh,
don't
you
see the
can't
ping?
ping them.
Oh yeah,
No,
you
I'm just
can't
saying
ping
you
that
can't
far.
actually ping them. Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. Oh yeah, you could do that back in season 2, couldn't you? You could actually ping the Leviathan since they were on the map.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You know, I didn't realize until after you answered that question that unfortunately that was like one of the prepared questions I had asked. That's my bad. I should have figured that out because if you
Thought I
look
recognized it.
if you look at the screen right now, unfortunately I did have that one prepared. Yeah,
No.
from Caleb902 he asked a similar question. So you know what? There you go, Caleb. There's your question answered.
I mean, some of
Congratulations.
the things
Congratulations.
like notice the jump packs on everybody, right? Like that was sort of a thing we had to decide. Are we going to do that? Are we going to lock in the idea that every legend has jump packs on their butt? Um, and that's very much a Titanfall thing. We could have solved it in other ways, but why are people able to not take fall damage in this universe? Why are they able to zipline up a rope? Um, Things like that are sort of questions that people, the art team, animation team, they kind of have to solve whenever we're like polishing something up. And so we were like, well, let's lean into the universe some more and add jump packs on everybody, and that explains a bunch of stuff.
Okay, that's fair.
Another example.
Yeah, it was less more so like creating like trying to tie into the story, and more so just like having these connections to show it's in universe, like it's loosely
Yeah,
related. That's the main thing.
yeah. There was not a lot of like, hey, let's do this because Titanfall. It was more like, hey, how can we solve this, or how should we theme this? And it was like, well, use the Titanfall universe if it works.
Okay. Do you actually want to? Let's run over to Rig and let's talk about that a little
Sure.
bit before we get to the next question. So, I love Octane, so we're just gonna. Oh, actually, I did want to ask you. This wasn't a prepared question, but mainly just like a design question because I think this happened in season 5
This is
where
5, yeah.
the Octane changes, not the map itself, but the Octane
Oh, okay.
changes, where he ended up getting double jump because originally he couldn't do the double jump.
Uh-huh.
So how did you at least how Respawn felt about the change on Octane in particular? Because like his jump pad at the start wasn't considered that good
Yeah.
until he got like the big double jump and changes there. In fact, you probably will hate seeing this, but if I go back to that jump pad,
Oh no.
if I go back to that jump pad and grab the keyboard,
You can do shenanigans.
you can do a few shenanigans like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the tap strafing. You did. I didn't get into the video, but the tap strafing was a thing that you particularly weren't not. I wouldn't say weren't fond of, but didn't think should be in the game at the start, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's every piece of tech that the community finds that we didn't know about has to have that question of like, is this, we didn't know we didn't know this was possible. For whatever reason, we didn't like find it in testing or just know that it could happen. And do we think that that's healthy for the game or not? And so that was just one of those things where it was like, I mean, even the double jump, like you were asking, whenever the jump pad got added, double jump, it was like we had to really think about, is this going to cause issues where the Octane's in front of me, I know what this fight is, and then suddenly the Octane is well beyond me, and their whole team is like well beyond me on the roof behind me, and I didn't even know that that happened. Um, those are the types of things that we looked out for as much as possible, while still maintaining that Apex is a movement shooter. There's always a push and pull because you can go way too far, way too fast,
Yeah,
and sort of lose all sense of combat readability if you don't try to keep it in check.
yeah, I do remember you having to go back and forth. At least the team had to go back and forth about Octane in particular, because there was a short period in the competitive meta where Octane was the character to play. I
Right.
don't. Do you remember that?
I think I do, yeah.
Yeah, it was like Gibby, Octane, and Bloodhound, and you're the biggest thing you would do. You drop this, and you go at them, and you could just go
Yep.
so far with the
Oh
double jump.
yeah. I actually do remember that,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a big thing. So just a little fun thing there. I also, real quick, before we get to the next like prepared question, I do want to ask a little bit about the charge towers, where the inspiration for that came from, because this was an addition on season 5, the rig, and these charge towers are like the big map toy, so to speak, of
Right.
that change. So I wanted to ask where like the idea come from for this.
Um, yeah, I think this was Davis Stanley again, and him and I just sort of brainstorming changes and um, when you're putting together a map update, you're like, how can we get people to go places that they normally don't go? And we have heat maps and we have our own experiences and we have streams and everything to sort of gather all that information. And so we just start brainstorming, like, what is the thing that we can make that's not a POI, something we can litter around in places that might actually make somebody sort of change their rotation, even once or twice, to say like, hey, we should go do that over there and change up our normal experience a bit. So yeah, we were just like, what if you could all get your ults immediately? That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean it's
And
pretty useful right now to get me another jump pad, so that's useful. Gets to the next place. Now, rig in particular, this was a pretty big change because yeah, this is when Skulltown came out. You were trying to like fill out the side of the map to make it a bit more popular to play in. On the map itself, we have the main rig area, so to speak, which is what we're on, and then there's also the southern area that is loosely connected to it. Basically, anytime I'm like playing on this map, there's always usually like a little bit of action going on here, and then like there'd be like a little isolated situation going on the other side. What was
yeah, you're
the
talking about like over there.
yeah, I was
That's
kind of
that.
wondering where the idea came from to have this split on the POI. Like if we go over there.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the map, if you think about I mentioned this in the video or in the last conversation, but just now that we're looking at it, if you think about old Skulltown, Skulltown was central. Um, you had Thunderdome behind you, and you had Gauntlet and everything. You can kind of like basically Skulltown was really hot, and then you had locations all around you to rotate to, and especially so if you were like, let's go to Skulltown, and you start dropping it, and then you see that like the whole server's there, you can go, actually, let's peel off and go to something else. And so if you look at the map, Capacitor is very similar to Skulltown in its placement, just on the other side. The rig is very similar to Thunderdome in sort of the peel off Capacitor is too hot concept. And then the other side of the rig is just sort of like, if you remember Thunderdome, you could rotate which direction? North, and there's like the little town where Octane's Gauntlet is now. There's just a little town. There was a little town to the left that is no longer here that was like between Thunderdome and water treatment. So it was a lot of like, let me rotate out, the spot is too hot, or I've won the spot and I just need to go somewhere and I don't want to go right through Skulltown. So that other side of rig is sort of trying to emulate one of those little towns that you can sort of peel off to and not get as much loot as the central area, but you make that decision while you're dropping.
Yeah,
We
it's
we were really trying to emulate the old Skulltown layout on this side of the map to bring people to play up here. That was the goal.
yeah. Now that I'm realizing it, yeah, you almost did that perfectly because you have the pipeline that connects them as if it's like Skulltown and.
That was a mistake.
let, me, let me go ahead and pick you up.
Yeah, we'll
All
just
right.
just give me a quick res there
Yeah,
while
yeah.
we're.
Let me just do a little bit. I was just like, wait, why is there a green dot on the map?
Yeah, I was just casually jumping and
Okay.
found that hole that was there.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. We do actually. It looks like we do have a question from user Serial, who does have an interesting one. Was the decision to use Source Engine an obvious choice for the team in TF2 Apex? Do you think Respawn will use it in the future FPS projects, and would you use it in the Wildlight project?
Ooh, that's a lot of questions.
You can do one if you
Using
want.
it
If you want to.
using it at the beginning was very interesting because we started off by getting the I don't know if this is known. I think it's probably in the like final hours of Titanfall, maybe something like that. We got the Ratchet and Clank 2 engine, right? Like brand new studio. We don't even know what game we're gonna make. We just need an engine to start working on stuff. And we got that engine from Insomniac. I think Jason West or Vince knows Ted Price pretty well, and whatever the deal was, we got the source for that, and we started working on that engine, trying to build a shooter, and it wasn't really meant to build a shooter, right? Like they had built Resistance in that engine, but we got the Ratchet and Clank 2 version, so it wasn't made for PC, all these things, and so we were kind of struggling to make it work for like a really like fast-paced, clean shooter. Um, and so we took a break and we said, hey, let's all go experiment with all the engines that exist that we can get our hands on. And we tried Crytek and we tried Source and we tried what else? I don't know, just whatever we could get a hold of, right? And Source was like, I think Mackie McCandlish, our lead designer, was the designer that sort of took Source to go experiment with. And everybody came back like, after a few weeks and had some stuff to play from whatever engine they were experimenting in. And Mackie had this like big level in like Half-Life 2 that could do all this stuff, all this moving geo, and the water was rising and the AI were coming out, and it was just like so much better than everything else. Like I had done something in Crytek, and I kind of had a city built or a town built, and I was kind of like struggling to make it work. And that was sort of our test. Like, let's go see what engines can get us going, like iterating really fast and start with like a really good shooter base. And I think most Source fans know that like that's what that engine does so well. It's super clean. It doesn't look the shiniest and the prettiest, but man, it's so slick and so fast. And iteration on it, and for scripting, gameplay, and for building maps is just like silky smooth and super fast. And that's really important to us.
Yeah.
So
If I'm
yeah,
correct, correct me if I'm wrong. The Source engine is based off of a Quake engine, if I'm correct, right? Like
yeah,
it iterated from that, and then also Call of Duty in general iterates off of that Quake engine and goes off on its own direction. It's kind of like this
yeah.
spiraling tree where Source goes in one direction, Call of Duty goes in another, and now even like Titanfall comes off of the Source tree, and that goes off in its own direction. So
And
it.
and honestly, it's a lot of the same engineers,
Mm-hmm.
and those the like the old IW engineering team, the like early to mid Respawn engineering team. Those guys are so awesome, and they they're the same ones that took Quake 3 and turned it into the Call of Duty that everyone's playing today. Quake 3, right? And then the same guys that took Portal 2 and turned it into Titanfall 1, Titanfall 2, and now Apex. Like the engine that is made for tight corridors in Portal 2 can now do like miles across geo networked on online. It's amazing. I mean,
Absolutely,
it
absolutely. I
took
mean,
many years to get there, but still, it's like,
yeah, it is absolutely crazy to think that most engines used by AAA studios nowadays were ones that were at least iterated upon 20 possibly 20 plus years ago. It
yeah,
is
totally.
quite fascinating. Here, one second. Okay, this bothered me a lot more. Your audio is only coming in from the left side. What? Please hold. Please pause. What do you mean? I apologize for this disturbance in the force. Please hold.
Imagine I'm sitting on the left
I
side,
apologize. Oh my
and
god,
that
it is.
it's in stereo, or it's in surround. I mean,
Did it get put in mono? What is going on? 1 second. It's not on mono. What?
yeah, I don't think there's anything I can do, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything you can do. It's just like my... Oh! There we go. That should fix it. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Okay.
Apparently, it decided to put it in stereo. So, alright, whatever. Alright, hopefully that's fixed. I apologize for that. That is going to be great when I watch the VOD later. Alright, why don't we walk on over to Capacitor and by Labs while I bring up our next... one, which is going to be a prepared question. This one is going to be from... Let me see, which one do I want to pick here? I'm gonna pick this one. So this one comes from the user Carbasher. And his question is, what was your favorite map idea that never made launch?
Oh, that's a good question. Never made launch.
I'm going to say that includes anything that's not currently on the map. So not like it didn't make it at all.
You know, this is like a deep cut, but before this map was even started, when we were really like looking at just like what kind of maps can we make for this game, before it was Apex, when it was just Titanfall Battle Royale and we were wall running everywhere, Alex Royslowitz, one of the LDs at the time, was sort of experimenting with maps that were bigger, and he made two maps that I thought were just awesome. One was like a city, like a big city, and with wall running, I mean, they were just blocks, right? For the most part, maybe some Titanfall prefabs or something from big skyscrapers, but you were just like wall running through the city for just forever, and that was really cool. I'm not sure it would have played well in the current iteration of the game because everyone would just be up in the air bypassing each other. But that was really cool. And then he also made this map that was a sphere, and we had some tech at the time. I doubt it even exists in the engine anymore. Some like prototype tech that basically let us walk along the sphere. So imagine a globe. Imagine this
Oh
map is
my
actually a
god.
globe,
Oh my
and you're
god.
walking around, and the instead of like seeing buildings on the horizon as whenever they just get in view, they would like come up over the horizon because they were on the on the round side of this globe,
You're
and that
telling me
was
we
just
could have had
so
a
trippy.
Super Mario Galaxy Apex?
That's basically, well, here's the thing. So it sounds really awesome, but actually what it was just head glitch the map, right?
Okay,
Because
fair.
everyone's on the edge where they see your head they can shoot as soon as their eyes crest the hill. But it was cool tech.
Okay, that's fair. That is actually really cool, man. That is wow. Man, now I want to play Super Mario Galaxy again. All right. Okay, yeah, that is a really cool addition. It sounds like a lot of your early iterations of the maps were just because you were basing it all off of Titanfall, so it had like the movement and the mechs, and you had to keep that in mind for everything, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
a lot of that couldn't come back because obviously you didn't have any of it. Having the giant lanes for Titans wasn't really necessary, or having like
Right.
wall riding opportunities.
hmm
Uh,
And so a lot of these older buildings, they have Titanfall designs to them, though you wouldn't really know because they're not used. But
mm-hmm.
these buildings, for example, were made just for this map for season 1 or whatever
This
it
was
was.
season 5. This is a capacitor.
Well, no, these buildings came from season 1 though.
Did they? I don't remember this
Yeah, they were like
building.
the they
Really?
were on the hill. I mean, it might be a different layout. I'll grant you that, but the like I can't remember, but the set here, the like art set.
Hmm.
So on the
Hmm.
map, you know the town that was right there.
Let me see. Yeah. Well, that started. Oh, was this like season? Oh, you are right. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
I'm
the
I'm
same
remembering
building set.
this. Oh my god. I didn't even realize that.
I think that was
Uh
season 1, right? have been 5, but I think it was 1.
It was one of those, but yeah, that has the same set. I don't know if that came earlier though. Oh well, whatever. That's fine. Yeah, it is fascinating to know how much of this like came before, and also how many of these buildings back when they were initially released, how many of these buildings actually had like the proper, I would say, pieces on them for Titanfall movement, like you know the wall writing spaces and all that.
Um, like these, no, these were
Hmm.
made for Apex totally. So
Yeah.
these have like a lot more like of the mantling, which you know Apex kind of has, but you kind of like hump up the wall with while wall running. Um, but like this type of panel right here is really like it looks like there's some you know little bits poking off of it and stuff. Like it wouldn't be too clean, but this has been really cleanly, like the collision on it is really clean, and it's been measured so that when you jump up, you get up here right where when you're supposed to. That's all Apex measurements. But like the buildings we were just at over at Basin is what it's called now.
Yeah, former
Those
relay.
buildings, they might have like we probably took the panels off of them, but if you remember Titanfall, there was like a
Hmm.
lot of times there'd be just panels on the walls.
We don't know what to put
Those were
here. Just put
very
a
much.
panel. That'll do.
I mean, yeah, for real.
I mean, it worked. I was after we made the video and we released it, I did a whole Titanfall week where we went back and played like all throughout
Oh,
Titanfall.
cool.
Did all the whole thing. It was fascinating seeing all the buildings that were in Apex that came from there.
Yeah.
Also, just playing Angel City again, man. That you guys did fantastic on that map. It's still the best.
Yeah, that's Jeff Smith. He's the goat, honestly. He didn't work
Oh
on
man.
Apex, but he made Crash and Modern Warfare 1. He
Okay,
made Angel City.
that's a pretty
He
good
made
record there.
he made Colony. He made like so many iconic maps for all
Uh,
the games that he works on.
Also, do you want me to? I don't know if you know this one, but you want to see another movement tech that's still in here?
Make me cry. Do it.
Do you know about lurches?
Nope. I don't really.
Oh,
That
you
just
didn't
looked
see
like
that?
you. That looked like you just wall climbed basically
So
to me.
the difference is that this is a normal wall climb. And you
Uh-huh.
have like the normal climb up. A lurch speeds it up
Oh, it's like a little
by
hop in the
yeah.
middle of it.
You take advantage of a wall jump to get up higher, and
Oh,
you
I
can
see.
completely break the speed at which you climb things up on. I messed that one up, but you get the point. It comes off of like normal wall bounces, so like these.
Yeah.
So
So can you make that wall climb extremely faster than
I don't know. I'd
normal?
have to do it on keyboard. One second. Let me see. I think this one's too high. You'd probably have to do it from like this angle, but you probably could do yeah, like that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So you
It doesn't
bounce
look
off
like
and you
that adds that much speed.
it does help a lot in just like taking because you don't have to leave your weapon away for as long when you're doing this.
Yeah.
So
You still have to mantle on the second part though, right?
yeah, you still have to mantle up, even on like normal ones. Like here, I still have to
Yeah.
mantle, but it takes away some of the like normal situations. And then like
Gotcha.
wall bouncing is still like uber popular.
Yeah.
uh
Yeah,
actually,
we liked wall bouncing because it was like honestly no one in the studio had done it
Mhm.
until we launched. It was completely one of those things where we didn't know that tech existed until the game went live.
It's
And
like a
we were
little
like,
bit of
should we?
Titanfall.
Yeah, it is.
It's great.
Because this tech to like go up the wall
Hmm.
is just wall running. It's the same tech. It's wall running, but
Up.
you know, constrained. Yeah,
Yeah.
up. Um, so it doesn't surprise me that that kind of tech can kind of like fall out of that. But we talked about it. We were like, should we kill this? And we were like, this is like skilled players being able to show off and like, you know, that extra skill gap is actually pretty cool. So we kept
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, that kind of follows up into the other one, Super Glides, doesn't it? I don't know if you like that
Um,
one.
is that from?
Let me.
We killed that one a long time ago, right?
No, it's still
Is that
here.
something new?
No, let me see if I can do it. It's really hard to do on controller. Let me pull out the keyboard.
Oh, I thought you meant from like
That
a jump. Whoa. Um,
it's a very hard input. It's like pixel perfect, but when you get it, you get a lot of extra speed off of a mantle.
yeah.
That one's
I'd
still here.
probably, I might, if I was in charge, I might try to kill that. I don't know.
Fair.
That's a tough one. Because
You did.
if I'm fighting you right here, right, and I kind of know what you're able to
Yeah.
do, and then suddenly you're just like, woo, over me,
This. Yeah.
I'm gonna feel
It's pretty
pretty
popular.
bad about that. Well,
It's pretty popular. But I get it.
cool.
You did try to kill the tap strafe when you were
I did.
still there. We
I did.
we won, but you did
Some things
try.
can't be killed.
Yeah, for the most part, a lot of movement tech nowadays has been sticking around. It has not been changing much. Like we haven't had a lot taken away, like it was in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
past. But
I
I
bet.
think there's not as many
Aw.
like bad ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a little bit of normalizing, like the game sort of finding its a safe place versus early days where everybody was discovering more and more stuff. But also a different regime over there. They might have a different philosophy on what they consider to
Fair.
be good for the game.
The last major movement change happened was what was a ban on what's considered configs, where you use
Yeah,
you use a special function on Steam to like force certain inputs, so you could do like major like bunny hops back and forth,
yeah.
like taking advantage of that little movement. This to go crazy. You can ignore that
Uh-huh.
beeping. Don't worry about it. Nothing will happen. We're good. All right.
Cool.
Actually, as we're now here in labs, it does bring me up a question that happened a while ago, so I'll go ahead and bring them up. This comes from the viewer Elad NLG. Did you personally work on any of the town takeovers for the map? And if so, which was your favorite to work on? Because we most of these were designed by I'm trying to remember the name, Alex Grainer.
Yeah, Alex Rayner.
Yeah, Alex Grainer. So
He
were there any
did.
that you did directly or no?
No, no, I was I'm promoted at that point, so I was sort of just tasking those guys with sort of helping them gauge which legend to pick and where to put it, but for the most part, that was all their designs.
Yeah, so all of the ones here, which include Sing Labs, Octane's Gauntlet, I'm trying to remember them, Map Room for crypto, and
That was
Caustic Treatment.
Davis Stanley.
Okay.
Caustic treatment was I can't remember. That came later.
That was season 8, I think, in a event.
That was Rand, I think. There's an LD that we hired later named Rand. I think he did that one.
Okay, fair.
But
I can Google it later. All
but
right.
yeah, I mean, I remember this one really well because Alex was kind of having a little trouble figuring out a direction he wanted to go with, and I I was like, hey, you know what I'm really proud of in this map is bunker. You should do another bunker. And he was like, what? A linear? I was like, yeah, they're so spicy. I love them because they're so spicy. And he was like, okay, let me see what I can do, but make it a little friendlier. So it has some splits and stuff, but
Caustic mains rejoice. Caustic mains rejoice. At least that has a portal to get out of there. You don't get trapped.
exactly. I mean,
Fair
that's
enough, fair
why
enough.
we sort of like made it work. And if you're playing Wraith there, you could, you can use her tack to get through the stuff. So it kind of plays into her ability to outplay the layout a little bit.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, and this actually had some changes. I didn't realize this until I was recording all the footage, but this is not how it looked originally. Back in seasons 2 to 5, I believe. It used to be a far more destroyed over here. Do you remember this change in particular, adding the buildings and everything?
I remember the buildings being here.
Yeah,
I don't remember a state where there were no buildings here.
there were no buildings in season 2.
Okay.
Yeah, when these first came out, it was just like a dirt path with a little bit of structure around it and a tunnel and the tower. That was it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, I do remember that. Because this was
Yeah.
tying in heavily to the video, um, the Wraith short.
Yeah.
And so this was like, oh, this place was underground. They dug it out at that part of the story in the middle of like while the games are still here. So it was sort of like freshly uncovered. And then we were thinking like, okay, later on, it's been uncovered, and then the games are going to sort of build up a little structure around it. So I remember that, yeah.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Especially since I think this was season 5 that this change happened. You guys were adding a lot of structures like this kind of throughout. So I think yeah, this was definitely given to fill this place out a bit more. And it also
Again,
makes... Go ahead.
if you look at capacitor in the Skulltown analogy, it's Davis added the path through just to add like the underground path through
Mm-hmm.
in season 5, just to add another rotation option out of capacitor. Or if you dropped labs and you wanted to get into capacitor to like, clean up the team that wanted or whatever, then you had a
Everyone's
rotation option.
favorite third party, yeah. All right. As we're walking, I do want to go ahead and give you the next prepared question as we go to Cage. Let me see.
Okay.
I think this one, since we are going through a bit of a choke, I'm going to go ahead and ask you one of the choke questions. We have 2 choke questions prepared, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you the first one from Ladder Match 9334 on Reddit. It is going to be, how much goes into the choke point designs on the maps? So how much focus goes into like creating these chokes?
A lot. I mean, if you look at this one right here, this is a big one, right? Because it's got a lot of different zones that converge here. If you look at the entrance to each choke, there's cover sort of spread around. This one is sort of like cover. There's this rock, but then there's also these like little ledges that sort of make for cover whenever you're fighting down there. You can just crouch. But if you're coming out of that perspective, if you're coming out of that zone, there's like the pipes, and
Yeah,
then
I can go down there to show it.
yeah, and if you're coming out of this area over here, there's the truck, and over here there's like cliffs and rocks and stuff. But in the middle, there's nothing, right? Because we want the fights to sort of happen from here, from this rock and this choke over to those pipes. So you kind of push your way out so that's still directional. And then once you've damaged us, you've broke our shields or whatever, that team's now has the opportunity to push up here and bring the fight to here and not fight too much out here in the middle where you could just get shot from every place that exists.
It's pretty
So
important
there's
to
the
make sure there's space to play around when you're going through a choke, so you don't feel trapped.
yeah, the amount of the placement of cover in places like this is very, very critical to where people are going to fight and how the combat's going to play out. And
Okay.
so
Yeah,
yeah, there's a lot of thought put into these choke points.
we do have another topic about choke points, but we'll go back to it later when we're in a different area. I actually do have a question from viewer Bill Zach. Jason, big fan. Who was your favorite designer to work with, and why was it Bilal?
Hi, Bilal. um,
Oh, also Pav agrees.
yeah, I'm not going to answer that question.
Oh God, fuck! You got destroyed there. All right. I like it. Let's.
I
Oh, you want to go ahead? No.
No, I say Bilal is awesome.
Okay.
I'm positive that's Bilal asking that question.
All right. Fair.
He
Fair.
did a lot of the like cinematic story stuff that happened from season, I'm gonna guess probably around 8, 8 on. All the cool like Bloodhound events, I remember the ash teas where you went into like the cave.
Oh, that was a good one.
Like he did all that stuff and he was just like nailing it constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Bilal, thanks for coming on by, as well as Pav. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. And you know what? Just because you came around, I think Jason does agree you were the best designer to work with, even if he doesn't say it. Now, in that, we do have another viewer question that I think would be a pretty good one to ask, specifically around Cage, just given this POI, from Dreamcatcher. Did you try to accommodate every weapon to have a fair fight in each POI, or were there POIs designed that would prefer one weapon over the other?
That's a good question. That sounds like a level designer question to me.
I don't know,
Yeah,
Dreamcatcher,
definitely.
where's your maps? We need to see them.
You definitely try to have as much intention around how players can think about how to play each POI as you can when you're designing it. Um, the cage is like there's a lot that goes into thinking about why I would want to design a POI like this, and it's like, okay, switch to your shotguns, switch to your wingmans, switch to your SMGs. Like this is going to be tight. But whenever you're approaching this spot, right, like from that choke over there, the idea was that all these openings, all these like metal grating on the side,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna see a lot of the combat happening in there, and you're gonna see a lot of bullets like flying out the side and abilities popping off and everything, and you're gonna start taking pot shots with your sniper rifle, and you probably won't down anybody, or you might down them, but you probably won't like take out a whole team that way. But you'll sort of start this new fight where, oh, they're kind of far. Let me switch to my, do I have a long range weapon I can switch to so I can actually engage with them, or do I need to turtle up and make them come to me so that I have my close range weapons so that I can sort of have the advantage because they clearly have long range weapons.
Wait.
So all that stuff is like,
You
did
mean
I
like
lose you?
through here? Like, could you shoot? Oh my god, you can shoot through here? I've never known that. What?
Yeah.
What? When? What did?
Yeah, since the beginning. This is actually I had to get a little bit of coder help so that this is because this is like a flat polygon, right? It's probably why he thought you couldn't shoot through it. So certain abilities can't go through it, like,
Oh my god.
but bullets can.
This would have won me so many fights if I'd known this. I've
Yeah,
literally
like if you have a
stood
long range
here-
weapon, you can defend.
I've literally stood here and watched people standing right there, and was like, "Ah, damn! I gotta
Oh,
go
no.
around to shoot them." Oh my god. Okay, well now that I understand that. Also, Dreamcatcher does say he is a level designer, or she is, or they are.
Nice.
Awesome to hear. Awesome to hear. Now, we do have another question I think is interesting. Namely on the door design for the maps. We do have a lot of interaction that goes on through the doors, and another question from Elad is, was interactable/kickable doors always planned to be added? Were certain weapons being able to push doors open intentional?
I mean, interactions with these doors is definitely a lot of work that we spent time on. I remember being sort of having to be the driver for this since it's a level designery tool, and thinking like, okay, it needs to, the fact that I can open this and it can get blocked by you, right? Like that, like that's not easy. That's a lot of like that's a feature that we didn't have when we were.
That's a lot of physics that you normally wouldn't
Exactly.
have.
It's server physics doing work there that we didn't have when we started making this game. So we had to do that and dropping boxes in front, death boxes that drop in front of it and all that stuff. So we had to have ways to break the doors down as well. And then the glass that's on these doors was really a sort of something I pushed really hard for because you kind of want to see what you're doing before you go in, and it's fun to have sort of standoffs with the glass and it not be breakable glass, so you can't just like shoot through it. And then the ability to shoot the door open by, I think only the DMR and the wingman maybe can do it.
I think the wingman, Rampage, DMR. I think the Sentinel can if you shoot it enough. I'm not sure about that one. I'm not gonna say that one for sure. The L-Star also can, and then like the.
Oh really?
Technically it opens the door if you really want to consider it that way. The Sheila.
Oh,
I mean, it does open the door, but yeah, these ones can open the door.
Yeah, that wasn't in the design spec that I handed over to code and was like, here's all the things that I would like it to do. We actually had the coder that implemented these doors. His name is John Haggerty, and he added that himself. He was like, I think it would be cool if you could shoot the doors open with some of the higher ballistic weapons, the heavy ammo weapons, and it went in, and I was like, oh weird, I wonder if that's going to affect gameplay in any way that's negative, and just ended up being it was just a cool interaction, so we just kept it.
I would say the only negative interaction is when you have that one Watson like on the top of the cage. Actually, not on top of the cage, like on the hill, and you're like just sitting right here. They just keep shooting open that door.
Yeah.
I've had it happen a few times where you're just hanging out and then the door is suddenly open.
Yeah. I don't think many people know. I mean, maybe they do now, but I definitely feel like I was cheating a little bit when I would do it in live, and people, I felt like people didn't really know that was a thing for a while.
Yeah, it's seeing more use in general just because of how long the game has been out, but I definitely early on it was not used that often. All right. Oh, what do you think? Do we want to walk across here, or do you want to go down here? What do you think?
What was the first option?
Go across over towards like Market and the bunker side, or do you want to go down towards map room, caustic treatment, and repulsor artillery. Oh, not artillery, the other one. Hydro.
Yeah, I mean, let's just randomly pick that one.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to put this down, and wherever you go, I follow.
Okay.
All right, let's go. All right, let me get you the next prepared question as I go along here. I think the next one that would be interesting to ask as we're going down is from Stenabrelux on Reddit. And it is going to be, did competitive Apex change the early design philosophy of Legends and or map design?
Yeah, definitely. When we started making this game, we didn't really think about competitive that much. I mean, we were definitely competitive when we were playing it internally, but we were never like, oh, this is gonna be an esport. Really, if it like turns into an esport, that would be cool. But battle royales didn't really have much esport presence when we started working on it, or at all. So as the community and you know more pros started playing the game and getting really good at it, and we saw Twitch trying to like build sort of a structure around playing professionally and everything, we started going like, okay, we have to care about that now. So luckily we were like pretty competitive in house. It's not like we didn't think about being very fair as much as we could in the way the levels were designed or the way the characters were designed. But we started caring a lot more around like, are there enough options for, because in the first few seasons, everybody remembers the the competitive meta was just the same through characters. I think it was what Wraith and it's definitely Wraith and what Gibraltar maybe and
Oh, the original meta?
yeah, the one that like
Yeah.
didn't change for seasons.
No, it wasn't the Gibby one. It was Wraith, Pathfinder, Watson, starting from season 2 all the way to season
Okay.
6. When you,
Yeah, I mean
it started getting hits on season 5, but season 6 was when it was killed.
that's when we started like we really started going like, okay, we have to shake this up, and we tried a couple things and it wasn't really working, and we had to start pulling some bigger levers. But then we also had to start designing characters that could fill the same roles that some of those characters did in different ways, so that you actually wanted to choose somebody other than Wraith. Um,
Okay. Yeah, I
and
mean,
then map wise, Rodney talks a lot about that in terms of like Kings Canyon wasn't designed for esports competitive. It was just designed to be a fun map that is figuring out how Apex even plays. Um, and then, Rodney's coming out with World's Edge in season 3, so he has a little time to go like, oh, there's a competitive scene. There's people care about how many POIs there are from a different perspective other than just, having options to drop for fun. And he's able to like sort of get little bits about what people are talking about and what people care about to develop World's Edge to be more competitive from an esports perspective. But
yeah,
yeah,
I
not Kings
mean,
Canyon really. It was like, is this map fun and do we like playing it? Cool. That's what you get.
yeah, that actually reminds me of something that happened in our full interview. It didn't get into the video, but in the full interview, you talked a little bit about competitive and the maps that are played for it. And you had an interesting opinion on there. Would you want to repeat it here or no?
Oh yeah, I'll go to
Okay,
the
go ahead. Go
grave
ahead.
yelling it.
Go ahead.
Um, I think that whenever people are playing this game, if they want to get good, if they want to be pros at this game, they should adapt to all of the maps. It should be it should be a well-rounded, I'm good at Apex, um, and I can play all of the maps, and because it's not like these maps don't have strategies, right? They just prefer not to play them for reasons that they can articulate that I don't think are wrong. But there's I was always a little bummed, seriously bummed, whatever the right word is for that Olympus never really got picked up
All right,
in the
guys, you got your
competitive.
Reddit headline.
That's fine. I don't,
Jason says, play the maps. Start the
do it.
debate
Play the
again.
maps.
No, fair. I mean, I don't personally agree with that, but I can understand the
How dare
perspective
you?
there. Yeah, how dare I? I know. I'm just an annoying little player. I get it. But yeah, I do see that sentiment a lot. So now everybody knows you got a supporter, in a former dev right here. Pretty important dev there too.
And we want to see it too, right? Like we want to see
Oh, people get
more
excited when
variety.
another map is played. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the when Olympus was scrimmed, it definitely was like really exciting to start with. I think it died down quite a bit after probably the first week or two of
Yeah.
scrimming, just because people were starting to get used to it. But in that first week or two, people were like, "Oh my god, Olympus! Oh my god,
Yeah,
I
and
can't
I
wait!"
mean, to be fair to the pros, I don't have their perspective of being somebody that plays the game at that level. So I can
Same.
hear their words and I can understand what they're saying, but I don't have the like experience of that they have to really feel what they're feeling. So, you know,
Okay, that's fair.
that's
That's fair. As we, I want to bring you on over to caustic treatment, and while we're doing that, let me see. Is there any viewer question that would be interesting to answer, or am I going to use a prepared question? Let me see. Actually, no, I know one. I know what I'm going to ask you. This is not related to Kings Canyon, but I got to ask. It's got to happen. Whose idea was it to add the train coming from Exploding Implosion? Who was it? Who made the train?
who made the train coming from Frozen Explosion?
From Exploding Implosion.
Um,
Who made it?
I don't even understand the question. What are you talking about the train in World's Edge?
Yeah, the train on
What's
World's
Ro
Edge. I'm sorry. The train is so good. I gotta ask.
the train is Rodney Reese
Yeah, fair.
100%.
I think I already knew that answer, but I just heard train and I had to ask.
There's almost like we make fun of Rodney frequently because um he worked on Naughty Dog games, right? And he worked on train stuff
Oh
in Naughty
yeah.
Dog in Uncharted. Um I wouldn't be surprised if he worked on train stuff in The Last of Us, and he gets to respawn and he's bringing sort of new ideas, and he's like, "How about a train?" And we're like, "Really? Bro, you love trains."
I mean, it could have
Um,
been a crashed airplane. That could have been the other one.
that's true.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the train was really good. But yeah, I remember hearing that from Rodney, where he said that you guys pretty much made fun of him for bringing up trains.
We still do to
The
this day.
Uncharted guy brought the train. Who would have thought? Yeah. While we're actually at caustic treatment, I don't want to ask particularly about caustic, but you can bring it up if you want to. I want to ask a little bit about water treatment because as I was playing Titanfall this past week,
Mhm.
I didn't actually find the map. I didn't find the map where water treatment came from. I know you said that it came from a Titanfall map, but even after the video was made, I'm like, which one was it from? I can't remember.
It's runoff.
Oh my god, I was playing on. I'm a fucking idiot. I was playing on that map so much. How did I not? Next barrier.
I
No.
I
I
don't
don't want to hear it.
I don't remember if it's how true this is, but I feel like I basically dropped runoff in to the runoff POI. Like it might be a little different, but
I'm
I
so
remember being
mad.
like, I'm just gonna take this and just drop it in, and then we're gonna play test it and I'll adjust it. And then after play testing it for a while, I was like, actually, this is fun the way it is. So
I'm
I
just
don't think it changed much.
runoff was I. How did I? I just never mind. I don't want. I
It
don't want to know. I
it's
don't
in
want
the
to know.
name.
Okay. God. Okay. Moving on over to the fun part of the map for you to design, basically, because you had to change it so much. The sandy side, where we did have one viewer question that I do want to bring up, but we're not quite there yet. So first, let's just go on over to market. I did want to ask you a little bit about market. I know you talked a little bit about like the intent of market and areas like it, but I do want to kind of hear your thoughts on having like this very enclosed location for a POI, where at the time, especially for Kings Canyon, it was mostly like towns, like having individual buildings and open area in between. Whereas whereas Market is like the first full building POI. It's all building, nothing else. So like, okay, a few buildings in front, but you know what I mean. And that's something you see more in later POI designs, but not so much in Kings Canyon. Where did this one come from?
Um, I think just constantly trying to find something that felt different, a different experience whenever you drop into it. If you look at a lot of the POIs that I worked on, they try to be as different as possible from each other. Um, something like this is something that we could put together super fast because like I've been saying, it uses Titanfall buildings, drop them into a layout, run around, make sure it's sort of the distances are correct, and you're good. Something like this was like, let's put some more effort into this. The artists have to come in and work on it, and like we have to figure out why it's here, what it used to be, what are the props inside and everything. And so this is just something that played different from the rest of the map, and I really like the fights that happen in here because you feel just, for the most part, if you drop here, you feel like you have this fight to deal with that is just the teams that landed here, and you're not really going to be shot from other teams outside of this. Not for a while, right? Like other people could rotate here out of Skulltown or whatever, but for the most part, 2 teams, maybe 3 teams are going to land here, and that fight is going to resolve, and it's clean in a way that something that Skulltown isn't, where you can be dealing with your 3 teams that drop in Skulltown, and a team could be rotating out of Thunderdome and just start lighting you up as soon as you win. And this is just cleaner. I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, it is also one of like the prettiest areas on the map. It was used in the initial cinematic, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So for good
And
reason, it's
rooms like
just so
this
pretty.
are like just uh, you've heard me say the term spicy a handful of times. Like I really like developing uh,
Another caustic bunker.
combat. Well, it's like combat spaces that just turn into like really tense situations.
Yeah.
And so stuff like this, I can tell why this wouldn't be a like a highly competitive style of room because you can get trapped in here and feel like I can't get out. There's a caustic on the other side. What am I supposed to do? But I think for pugs, it's like you feel something and when you're in here and you're playing and you get trapped in here and you're like running out of ammo and you're like, oh, you feel like this level of tension that is sort of fun because the situation is a little unfair and a little like uh, different than just having like a really fair fight out at the neighboring town or something.
Okay. Yeah, I've definitely had those situations where it's like both teammates are knocked, we're trapped in here. I have to sit right here in this corner as they protect me with their shields. And I
Uh-huh.
just see a full team swing in this space, and it's just like, how do I get out of this one?
And if you can get out, it's a memory,
Yeah.
right? It's the thing that you can be like, holy shit, I can't believe I got out of there. Or if you hide in there and a team kind of just runs by you and you feel like you're hiding in the closet, like those types of experiences I really like trying to make.
Oh, I gotta. I'm sorry. I've been streaming for too long. I heard that, and I just almost went to a really bad joke. Please, I'm gonna be professional. I will ignore the urge. I will ignore the urge.
Hmm. Okay, I'm very
Uh,
curious. Maybe tell me later.
it involved the closet.
Ah,
There you go. All right.
yes.
And now, while we're walking over here, I do want to bring you on over to the no name area just north of here, the little town
Hmm.
area. But before that, I want to give you one of the questions off the question list. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and bring you one back towards like the engine question. This one is gonna come from Reddit user Critical G, and that question is, I need to show it on screen later. How limiting was it to make a BR in the Titanfall engine? Would you have preferred a different engine? So like after you did all the Titanfall stuff with Source, how would you have preferred changing to a different engine coming to this size, or was the limitations worth it?
Mm, I mean, just from a level design perspective, it was challenging. It was, the engine was not made to do something this big. And so it was a lot of back and forth between me and engineering, just saying like, hey, I tried to make a map too big and it crashed, or it won't compile, or um, the editor can't go that big, or whatever. And they would keep working on it. I would keep expanding it. We'd run out of memory. They would add streaming memory, and it was constant back and forth. So it was a challenge, but the speed of the tools at Respawn are really good, really fast. And so I probably wouldn't trade it for another engine, especially because um, I just don't have a lot of experience using other engines to know if, I've heard stories about engines at other companies being slow or fast or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
this engine is super fast and fluid and fun to work in, so
Yeah, it comes
I
from
think
that
I would
experience
prefer to
in
just
Call of Duty too, because it branches off of that, so
right.
it kind
And we
kind of
had
makes it a little easier.
the editor that that they use at Respawn that I think they still use probably that we had used since Titanfall 1 is just very similar to the one that we use it in Infinity Ward. It's, very fast.
Yeah,
So I can make changes and just like super quick iterations on this thing. Um,
I originally thought when I learned that it was like based off the Source engine, I was like, "Are you doing this in Hammer?" And I would have been
no
amazed
way.
if you did any of this in Hammer.
No way.
I talked about that with Rodney. He's like, "No, we didn't actually do it in Hammer." And I'm like, "Oh, thank God."
I built
You
some Titanfall 1 maps in Hammer, but then
what?
well, yeah, they didn't ship
What?
out of Hammer, but yeah, I
They
mean,
didn't
when
ship
we got
fair.
Sourced, yeah, when we got Sourced, it was like, well, you build maps in Hammer. So we built a lot of our early maps in Hammer. I think Airbase was mostly built in Hammer, and then I had to like, um,
Wait
once
a
we got
minute.
the new editor made, we sort of ported it all over there and worked on it from there. But
Did you just say airbase?
yeah,
Please
from
tell
Titanfall 1.
please tell me I'm not an idiot. The airbase on this map is not
No,
the same. Please.
no,
Thank
it's
God.
I just use the same words all the time. If I name things.
Uh,
There's certain I
Thank
think all
God.
level designers have like names and themes and things
I,
that they
I,
like
w-
to just reuse
I
and
just wanted to make sure I didn't have another runoff here, okay? That was it.
no.
That was it. Oh, okay. On that, though, I do want to talk a little bit because we do have like a lot of these types of areas in the original version of Kings Canyon where you use like the preset props to build out a town. And we got a question from Kage404 that wanted to ask in particular for this one. What was the design goal for this set of town? Because this one's pretty centralized inside of this sand. It connects bunker to runoff to airbase and all of them. So were there any specific goals about like filling out the space?
Yeah, so I think Davis Stanley actually did this spot in the original map. Um, that's kind of a funny tangent is, I started the map from, I like the from the overall high level layout aspect, but developing however many POIs and towns like this exist in this map, you start to get creatively fatigued. Like you just run out of ideas. It's like trying to make an album and having to write a bunch of songs, and eventually they're not all going to be good, right? So um, I brought in Davis and I brought in Chuck Wilson, who was a designer at Respawn at the time as well, who's now at Valve actually, um, and had them design a couple things. Davis did Airbase and he did this town. And I don't think there was anything here at first. I think this was just open desert. And I sort of have a fascination in this game with open spaces being really fun, um, more than more than like towns and buildings and lots of stuff like that. I mean, those are fun too, but I really like the empty spaces because you get these really different fights. And so this was all open, I think. And I think Davis, or just through feedback while playing, we were like, we should put something here, but art really can't support it too much. We're sort of like adding in something later. So Davis came in here and just sort of like iterated and iterated. And the thinking was just having two little towns that felt separate so that you kind of one team could land here, the other team could land here. You're gonna loot, but then you're gonna like close in on the other team and try to push them out um, as soon as possible so that they don't do that to you. And this bridge was sort of just like pretty simple in design, just two areas with a bridge connecting them, but that tower is pretty powerful too. And the tower was just like let what is special about this town other than just being right in the middle of everything? It's like, oh well, maybe people rotate here so that they can get up in that tower and scope out a bunch of space and see if they can find where other teams are rotating.
Yeah, I mean it. When you have the high ground, it definitely helps when everything else around you is gigantic sand. So that definitely
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, and the
Uh,
sand that's really critical too, right? The sand, the color of the sand and the fact that like over there is not a lot of detail, right? So if a team is rotating through there, you're going to see them
mhm.
very clearly. So this is sort of like the power spot in this zone, and rotating through, you kind of always have your side eye on this. It's like, is anybody there, or are we going to get shot from there?
Yeah. I mean, that is true. That is true. I mean, high ground in general is pretty popular, and there was a question a while back. I'm gonna have to scroll up a bit to see if I can find it, but I think it kind of ties into this. It was mainly about the verticality. So let me see if I can't find it. Yeah, this one comes from Fan Man Pro. I don't know if he's still around, but from Fan Man Pro. Hey Jason, did it ever feel like Apex's level design verticality was impeded by the fact that it's a BR? Avoiding things like end circle heal-offs because two teams are stuck in a circle seems like it goes against the game design. Was that one of the reasons places like Thunderdome ended up being removed? Stuff like that.
I mean, verticality definitely plays a huge part in anything that's designed for this game. I think, yeah, some verticality stuff is, the cage that sits over Thunderdome in the original version is again me trying something spicy like that. I believe anybody that played that version of that map enough has pretty strong memories of that hanging cage.
Thunderdome, baby.
Which is sort of my whole goal when I'm making something, like give you some strong memories of some place. And I think it was, eventually you kind of realize like, okay, people have experienced that. They've got their strong memories. The novelty is gone, and now it's not as fun as it should be. So removing those things eventually are probably good for the game to just kind of like introduce them, add some spicy matches, spicy new fights, and then remove them so that the game can like be more fair. One piece of verticality that I really liked in this map is the watchtowers.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad that they've stayed. They haven't been changed yet. I'm sure they will someday if they keep.
I feel like they're too iconic to
changing this
Kings
map.
Canyon to
That's true.
change
They are
that much.
pretty iconic.
It's kind of like taking away Epicenter from World's Edge now.
Yeah, so I mean, you could have said that about Skulltown, right? But
Okay, you didn't have to bring that one up. All right. Hey, that was your fault, man. That was your fault. Actually,
but if you notice,
before we go there, I do.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We're here, this was actually a specific question I want to bring up. This is the second choke question that came from Whistler Streams, and the main thing was what other reasons were there for Apex Legends to have such a choke-heavy design for the maps that no other BR had, especially at the time? Were there any other specific reasons outside of just necessity or the general design that you were going for?
I mean, I talked about the performance, right? That was probably the driver as far as like, just can we even make this game at all, or these maps at all? So let's use these big walls to block off space, and then that just creates these doorways or these chokes. But then after playing it, it was like there was always my sort of side brain going like, well, I don't like in PUBG how the ring is closing and everyone's running from all directions, and you have these like parallel fights. You're running this way, but so are the teams that are running from your right and your left. They're all running towards the circle. And so you're like running this way and you're like fighting this way, and it just feels, I don't,
like
at great distances too, right? It kind of feels like the fights should be more directional. And so that was sort of like an attempt at these choke points were sort of an attempt to try to just get more directionality in this game, and I think it was extremely successful.
Oh, very.
The downside is, clearly the third party problem that these choke points provide, which is I got here first, I'm fighting the team over there, and the pinching, the other teams that are rotating through come up behind you, and suddenly you're stuck in the middle. And that's just something that we sort of realized was true, and think part of it is like skill of not staying in a choke point too long if you can help it. But again, these choke points create fights, especially this thing. Like, I was like, what if I put up a fortress? Like, this is sort of like assaulting a castle from this perspective, and you have to get through here, and so that's going to be a fight that you're going to have feelings about afterwards.
Yeah, I don't think there's anywhere else on the map that has this anymore, but back in the original version, there were a few other areas that had like this specific building layout where it had like the kind of big walls with the windows to walk through. I think the one you replaced Octane in had one, and I think there was one behind Thunderdome too, right?
Yes. Yeah, this big rusty metal structure. Yeah,
Yeah,
we used it a
specifically
couple
that.
times. I think at least one other time.
It comes up in different shapes, but yeah, like this. I I won't lie, this is one of my favorites. This is pretty nice. Uh, Actually, like on that, I did want to bring up like BR maps have evolved quite a bit nowadays. Even like Fortnite's maps aren't quite the same as they used to be in terms of like the big giant open layouts. They have some level of, I would say a few of them have had some like choke heavy designs in them, and
hmm
that's a really interesting evolution because specifically this form of battle royale is evolved from the original DayZ mods when that came out, and
Right.
those types of things. Those were always on like Arma maps, which are giant open grounds to simulate army battles and wars. So seeing that huge change is something more like a traditional game design was pretty huge back in 2019. Because
Yeah.
going from
I,
like a simulated island to this is very different.
yeah, I think the way I see that evolution is just, the teams making those games were making an experience that you can't get anywhere else at the time, and it felt very unique and novel. But then it wasn't the greatest shooter experience, like a really clean, good shooter with really well designed encounters. It was sort of like, and that's a lot of people's bag, honestly, right? The really big um, open worldy nature of a BR, of those styles of BRs. Definitely people like that. But I think this is sort of taking a shooter team that's made a lot of shooters, putting them on a BR and saying like, how is it going to change? And that's, you get a map like this whenever you start doing that.
When you get a bunch of people that have made like Call of Duty and
Yeah,
Titanfall and Halo and all that, and you tell them, hey, make a giant map. This is what they're gonna build instead of a team that made, say, like an RTS or a army shooter or some kind,
yeah,
something different.
totally.
All right, fair, and honestly, good. This is such a good map. I love these maps. I'll be honest. One of the least favorite things I have when I was playing PUBG was just like running through an area, and then like a mile away there was a guy that just like the smallest
hmm
glint, bam, dead.
Yeah.
So it is great to see this change. I mean, I still get this here. I mean, there is a guy that will be right up here shooting me from here, but
Totally, yeah.
other than that,
But the time to
actually,
kill
yeah,
means
go
you're
ahead.
probably not going to get killed by that guy,
Unless he has a Kraber,
right? Like, yeah, I mean, if he has a Kraber, then good on
the
him, he
original
wins.
Kraber especially.
But that happens so rarely that you kind of go like, wow, what are the odds that headshot from there with a Kraber that they had to get, which is rare in itself, and it's like it's like that moment for that player was so strong that your sort of like down bummer moment is a good trade-off, I think. Plus, you're probably gonna get picked up by your teammates and keep playing anyway.
Fair. It is very interesting. I wanted to talk about this area in particular because I would say this area is probably the most universally changed throughout the updates, if I'm right, because obviously we have the change to containment,
hmm
taking Cascade to containment, which moved the main POI from there to over here. So that was
Yep.
already a big change, and that changed that area a ton. And then like the bridge here wasn't initially a thing because we had the Leviathan here, so it was like
Right.
the broken area. And now you also had the evolution on the. I think this was season 8 that this came, like this area. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Pretty sure. Yep.
that came, and then also up on the hill that all changed in particular as well because it used to have
hmm
buildings, and there used to be like a whole building area just past that one. So the only real things that have stayed unchanged in this area are the choke, the hill, and the watchtower. So I wanted to
Yeah.
kind of pick your brain a bit on how like the evolution of this area happened because it is pretty gradual in how it's changed.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, this is one of the biggest open zones in the map, and it's got a lot of sightlines in on it, which was the original design. Is wouldn't it be fun to be down in Cascades with all these sightlines on you, and you kind of get trapped in the buildings, and people can push from the tower, and there was a lot of loot down there if I remember correctly, and um, just because of the amount of buildings. And so you kind of like sort of the honeypot idea of there's like juicy stuff in the middle, but you might get shot from all angles. And so that was sort of the original concept, but I think it was kind of unhealthy um, and just a little too chaotic. So when Davis got to season 5, we talked about pushing the heat over here and sort of separating it from this hill and
Oh,
sort
do
of
you
making it
mean
more.
in season 2 with Containment?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Um, oh yeah, I guess that was me that did that.
Yeah, that was you. That
Hilarious.
was
I
you.
don't even remember who did the work. Um, I remember why. It was, like separating it from the, like making the relationship of this POI a little more distant from that. Like you definitely get rotators and people seeing uh, action happening over here that want to push into here, but for the most part, they can't really engage from over there. They can, DMR poke and stuff, but really the relationship I wanted to make it more about this thing, right? Like you're here, but you're always kind of
Getting stared
aware
at
of
by a longbow from
Watchtower.
that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of like, is there somebody up there? If there's somebody up there, this spot is not safe. And then that team up there is like having a great time just poking people, but they do kind of have to push to finish off the team. So then they end up having to make this commitment of like dropping off of their high spot and coming in from this angle, and doing that in the middle of a fight and third partying is a valid option, but
And then somebody else takes the height from them. It's a never-ending
yeah,
cycle.
yeah, exactly.
It's how
And
many
then
people can get annoyed by a sniper in one POI. I love it.
um,
I say that kind of mean, but I say that affectionately. It's pretty fun, especially when you're
well,
up there.
if you look at those buildings too, i- these are some tricks you can see that we learned from Titanfall, which is like
Hmm.
all vertical, right? There's there's only a couple spots that a player's really going to shoot from. I mean, sure they can mantle on top of those little air conditioning unit wall things, but for the most part, they're going to shoot from that center little gap that was made, so they can sort of strafe in and out of cover and not have to do the mantling and everything. So that lets the players that are down here getting sniped. When you get shot from that building, you pretty much know to check one spot. Versus if that whole thing was open, there'd be just a bunch of heads poking up in all directions all the time. So it's not without a lot of care that a sniper position like that gets put up to overlook a POI. You kind of like have to try to balance that as much as you can.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on that. I'm just gonna say yeah. That's fair. Yeah,
And then
I
I'm
respond to
glad
that with
this guy
everything.
hasn't changed. This is like
I feel like that's
that's
like
kind of
the least powerful sniper position in this area, just because of how much cover there is around it, with the trees and everything.
yeah, that was definitely intentional, though I don't think that I think it still remains a very hot rotate
Oh,
from
definitely.
that choke point right there. Like you have to come out of there and rotate around, and there's already a team up there. Like that's a pretty spicy
And when there's someone at bunker.
fight. Yeah, yeah,
All
you got to
right.
keep going all the way through.
All right. I'm gonna bring us up on over to artillery, and while we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and give you another question from the prepared list. So for this one is gonna come from Pyrolistical, and his question is: how would you have designed KC differently if memory wasn't a constraint?
Um, that's a great question. I think probably the first thing that comes to mind is I wouldn't have used so many um, of the same buildings, which honestly might have been a mistake. If if I didn't have memory to worry about, if you notice throughout the map, still, but especially at launch, is a lot of the same buildings, um, and that is 100%. Well, 50% because of memory and 50% because of the time that we had to make stuff. And so if memory wasn't a constraint, I probably would have said every POI has bespoke, unique buildings. And I'm glad that that wasn't the case, honestly, because I think it gets people probably like easier to learn the map whenever this is a huge map with lots of places to explore. And first time player, they're running through and they're like, oh, this is a different location, but at least I know this building. I played in the other spot that had a similar building, and it has a different relationship with the buildings around it, so the fights are different. But for the most part, I know these buildings. You can learn the map faster.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I thought you were
The
continuing.
end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree there, just because even today, with the most like newest map updates, we still see buildings get I don't want to say reuse, but like repeated in their usage. Like
Yeah.
this season 21, where we just had to change to Broken Moon, which fully came after you left, which is crazy to think
Uh-huh.
about. Yeah, complete map that you weren't even there for. Dang. Anyways,
Well, I played the early versions.
nice. Yeah, but with the update, they added a few new like spiral style buildings with like the center zips that everybody loves to jump off of. And those are in like 3 or 4 new locations in the game, in the map. And it's just constantly there all over the place. And it's not even a bad thing, because you get that sense of familiarity every time you end up going there.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't actually bring you to artillery to really look at artillery. I think we kind of get the gist of artillery. Like a lot of the reused assets from Titanfall for this one kind of just laid out similarly to which one is it? Repulsor? Just with the separation of the buildings instead of having them next to each other, right?
Yeah, Repulsor and this use the same style. Like we basically would have to say, how many styles does a map get for memory? We would pick like 4 or 5. So that Art could go like, okay, I'm going to build you a military base style. And then LDs could use that style to make different layouts. So this is actually all custom Apex, actually.
All of it? Wait, what?
I mean, not the trucks and the props laying around the map, like the
I'm pretty
crates
sure
and
the
trucks and
cannons,
stuff.
they're from Titanfall,
The
aren't they?
cannons are from Titanfall. Yeah, they got remade
Oh, okay, fair.
to be higher fidelity and stuff. But all these
Genuinely thought
buildings are new.
I thought these were Titanfall. Huh.
No, there's similar buildings in Titanfall 1. Again, like I made airbase in Titanfall 1, and then I made these buildings, so it's very similar. Like I like sort of this layout.
Okay.
The fact that you can go underneath them in the other in Repulsor, like drop down under the service vents. Something I did in the other maps too. Like I did it in War Games and I think in Airbase. Again, just sort of a style thing that LDs kind of reuse a lot of their ideas a lot.
Well, this makes me sound very dumb thinking this was just all reused. Okay. All right. Moving on. With that, we do got to talk about this, because we didn't get to talk about Season 8 that much in the interview we had in the video. So I do want to bring it up, since you were part of Season 8's development, kind of. You were advisory for the most part, right?
Right.
So I do want to talk a little bit about it, because Crash Site obviously had a big change in the fact that it added a whole new area to the map. And before I bring up that in particular, I do want to bring up something that we talked about with Stormpoint and Rodney, namely the lake. I wanted to ask a little bit, like the lake that was out of bounds. It was you and Rodney that were thinking, hey, it would be cool if you could start there, right? For Stormpoint?
Yeah, like if you remember the old one, which is
I don't think it's there anymore, but it was like up here-ish.
it was like basically from here to there was just it was up there at that height, and there was just a lake, and it was really low fidelity because you just flew over it. And it was just sort of a way to say, like, it doesn't have to be an island on every side that that just drops off into the ocean. We kind of wanted a cliff on one side of the map, so you had a little more directionality when you were looking at the map from the ground. And so I think I put a lake up there, and I was just like, that sort of answers why there's waterfalls in different parts of the map, like at Relay and stuff. And sort of didn't think anything about it. And then we were playtesting, and people were like pinging it and trying to drop there, and I was, people were like, oh, I kind of want to drop there. I just want to see what's going on up there. And I was like, yeah, maybe someday.
I feel like that's a thing with basically any gamer, is they see a spot they can't go to, and they go, I want to go there.
And you're like, it's like, no, you don't. There's nothing there.
Okay, say that.
You want to go to a place that
I'm sorry,
could be there.
I disagree. Because back when I was like a big Halo guy and I played Halo all the time. I'm sorry, I wasn't a COD fan. I was a Halo fan. Sorry about that. But
It's all good.
yeah, with that, back in Halo 3, back in Halo Reach, even Halo CE, I was the kid that would bring my friends over and we'd find every single out of bounds glitch in every single campaign level just so we could explore outside of it. And that it was there was nothing there, but we had a blast just trying to see how far we could get without going out and dying or getting into the out of bounds line.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't
I think
I
that's
don't
a
agree. I
different
love it.
vibe though, right?
True.
That's like you're trying to sort of like figure out what you can accomplish and sort of see the edge of the universe. That's that is a different. I totally understand that the appeal there. I think whenever I hear people say like, "Oh, I want to go there. It looks so cool and fun," like it's like if it's not developed, it's not cool and fun. Like you actually could drop in that lake in the first versions before we whatever we did. I don't remember. Probably just added out of bounds or something. Um, and it was like you would just land in this giant open space with nothing to do and run around until the ring killed you.
Nice.
So
Awesome. I love
yeah,
it. I want to do it.
good
All right.
good gameplay.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Crash Site. You did mention in the interview that didn't go into the final video that the idea of Crash Site was again to like open a lot of space because this originally was not going to be up here. It was going to be over by Runoff in the Pit, right?
Yeah. Um,
How did I
the
miss
level
that?
designer, um, Keith, that was working on this POI, he had it over by this spot.
Oh my! Oh, it
Um,
was in the No Name Town. Oh no!
yeah. That used to have a name. It was
I think
called
it does. I think it does. I just never
oh, when
took
you
a
run
look.
into it.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
looked at it.
Um, it used to be there, and so that was really cool. But it was this place is just so big. You know, I was telling you that little tower that I put or that Davis put on
Mhm.
the hill there has a lot of sight, right? And if someone gets up there with a sniper, they have a lot of control. So putting this giant POI with all that height right there in the middle of that zone was just a little too much, and we were playing it and kind of gathering feedback, and I just like, sort of suggested, I was like, hey, Keith, what if, I actually was like, I don't think this is a great idea for production because we were kind of running out of time. But I was like, it would have been cool. Wouldn't it have been cool if this was over here instead? Because some feedback about the map getting too small when Skulltown went away, and I was like, this lake over here, it was just kind of it'd be cool if like someday this opened up and maybe Crash Site could go here or something. And kind of an off the cuff suggestion, and I swear to God, it was like an hour later. Keith messaged me on Slack and had moved it over here, and it was like, "Were you thinking like this?" And I was like, "Holy crap! Okay, let's just run with this and see what we can do as far as like rotations and stuff." And yeah, we just kept it from there.
Yeah, I mean, this was a pretty good addition. It did add a lot of space, and I think this top area is my favorite area. Just having all the like isolated fighting up here,
Hmm.
where you'd be playing either side, and whoever controls the middle.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's always fun.
again kind of like a little arena that you can
Hmm.
play kind of just with the teams that drop with you and sort of resolve it before moving on
Yeah,
and
have a
not
little.
get, dinged from other POIs.
I think my favorite thing that happened here at any point in time was getting like four teams dropping here. One team landed here, one team landed over there, two teams landed there, and then one went inside, and it was just a four-team standoff all in here.
Yeah.
I think that was like the tensest action I've ever had in this POI. All right. We're gonna go down to Spotted Lake as like our last location, but we do have a few more prepared questions I want to do before we kind of start closing out. So I do want to bring up the next prepared one, which is going to be from user Zemit, who asks, "What was the internal reaction to the map being leaked nearly a year before
Uh,
launch?" So the Reddit post that happened a little
yeah.
while beforehand.
Um, I think the the biggest reaction was just thankfulness that no one believed it was real. Because
Fair.
I mean, it was really disappointing to see that. It's leaks are so demoralizing for the team when they're working on stuff, and then people get to look at the thing that is unfinished and make a bunch of judgment calls on it. And that's what happened in that post, right? Like my favorite, I don't remember verbatim, but my favorite uh, reply to it was just like, "This is clearly so bad that it is very much. It clearly is not real because it's so bad." And I remember just laughing. Like I was like, "That is brutal." But sorry to tell you, bro, this is real. Um, but luckily, I feel like it didn't really gain that much traction. Like it didn't. Like the Reddit
It did
post was
not. It
huge,
did
but
not.
it didn't like go all over news sites, and
Do you,
everyone was like,
do you want to know a
you know,
secret about that post?
yeah,
It actually got as big as it was, not because of the original post, but because it got posted later after Apex was released and
yeah,
people went back
yeah.
to it. That was the
That's what I
reason
thought.
why it like boosted up in size and comments. Most of the comments aren't people actually reacting to the map. It's people making fun or making jokes of the people that were commenting at the time. Like, do you believe
Yeah,
it now? Do you believe it now, huh? Like that.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so that was sort of like, thankfully, I don't think people are believing this or taking it seriously, and so we just kind of brushed it aside and moved on.
now, would you be willing to say if there were any other leaks that happened in that time that kind of went unnoticed, or no?
I think the only one that we know of is that somebody leaked it right like 2 days before we announced it.
Really?
Um, I don't think there was a lot of screenshots. I don't think there was a lot of I don't think there was any screenshots maybe. Or maybe one. No, there was a lobby screenshot. That's what it was. Somebody had a lobby screenshot and they contacted us and said I'm gonna release this if you don't something, I don't know. Which that kind of stuff is crazy, right? That definitely happens. People will
Jesus.
get people will get something leaked and they'll contact the studio and say, if you don't submit to my demands, I will release this online. And it's like, what do you think you're doing? Um, but anyway, I think we just ignored that person. And
It
because we
worked out.
yeah, and I don't think it got enough traction to matter. You know, our release still felt like, or our announcement still felt like the majority of the world was surprised by it. So that's
Yeah,
the
I
only thing
mean,
that happened really. It was like extremely successful surprise launch, considering that a good leak could have ruined it all.
yeah, that no dig at Respawn at all at that point. But like up until that time, you guys are still pretty much considered like the Titanfall guys. That's really it. And
Oh yeah, totally.
there's like the niche specifically there. So a
Hmm.
lot of news that circulated around Respawn at the time is specifically in that crowd. So
Yeah,
it's kind of not that surprising that it didn't get out much further than that because well, you guys were still AAA in all senses of the term, but you weren't like mainstream for most people. And
yeah,
Apex is what kind of sent that into the spotlight. Now everything
totally.
gets like huge attention whenever it's leaked, which sucks. Leaks suck.
Yeah,
Actually,
agreed.
we were mentioning it before, but like this, the new perk and shield system, leaked
Hmm.
like I think like a week before the actual announcements happened. And I remember just feeling so negative about the changes because of how they were presented in the leaks. And then I actually played it. It was a ton of fun. I actually really liked this change. But I remember because of how it was leaked, I just wasn't happy about it.
Yeah, I mean
It just sucks.
that's what bums all the devs out when it happens. Because then you have to do so much more to like message and try to just fix that like people already think the thing you're working on is shit when they haven't even played it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what it would have been like what for Rockstar when GTA 6 got leaked. That huge one.
Yeah.
That I can't imagine how bad that feels. So, thankfully Apex when it initially released hasn't had that issue. But
Yeah, for sure.
we are kind of coming towards our bottom end. So let me see if I have any more prepared questions for you before I kind of finish this off with us just wandering a bit and talking about some viewer questions. Let me see. Am I missing any? I don't think I am. Oh, I did actually have a prepared question, but I forgot to make a graphic for it because I'm dumb. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read it out loud. This one came from Zagawa, and he was specifically asking, "What's your highest rank in ranked?"
Yeah, I saw that question before. I got to Plat 3. I would definitely was in the like
Damn.
Plat 3 stuck category.
So you're
Getting
telling me
into
I could
Diamond
beat
was
you?
probably, yeah. I mean, especially
My
at this
my
point.
highest is plat 3. And that was with like a month of grinding.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty happy with Plat 3, but I could never really get into Diamond. I probably could have if I played a little bit more, but at the time I'm playing this all day, you know, in
Now,
playtest at work, and then I actually played it a lot at home too. So
I gotta ask you
that's my
then as
excuse.
well. I'm not asking you to start talking about this debate or anything. I just want to know. Controller or MNK?
Controller.
Oh well.
I know. Here's my reason. Look, when you're making a game that is especially going to be a console game, you got to put a lot of effort on good controls.
Mhm.
And so early on in my career, especially at Infinity Ward, right, it was like there were times where they said that the leadership there was like they would actually turn off mouse and keyboard controls so that even the devs could not use it because everyone was all mouse and keyboard like PC players for life. And they're like, no, guys, we're making a game for consoles. You have to get good at controllers and make these controls good. And so I sort of like flipped my development practice to always be on controllers so that controllers are always good.
That makes sense, honestly.
Sacrifice. It's a sacrifice that I give, you know?
I'm never gonna. I'm not like when we talk about that debate. Obviously, we're not gonna get into the details of that. But when you talk about that debate, it really doesn't matter if you play controller, mouse, and keyboard. It's whatever you're comfortable with. So it's not like it's the end of the world that like most developers are planning with controller in mind.
Right.
We definitely seen a shift more likely to more mouse and keyboard just in recent years, just because of how like PC has become so much more popular. But
Yeah.
controller is still very important, so it makes sense. Now, in saying that, I want to ask you, as we do like, we're gonna be here for about another like 10 minutes. I want to ask you, would you like to take just like a few extra chat questions, or would you be
Sure.
willing to let me try and teach you how to super glide?
Can I do it on a controller or do I need to play mouse
You
and keyboard?
can. It's difficult, but you can.
I can do mouse and keyboard. Let's see it.
Okay.
Let's take a
So
couple shots at it and see if
okay.
I'm hopeless, and then we can take some questions.
All right. I am on keyboard. What I'm gonna
Yeah, mouse and keyboard.
explain to you is that what it is there's a specific point on the mantle that you need to hit the inputs jump and crouch. Jump, crouch in that order. It's a very specific pixel input. And
Okay.
the easiest way to do this is if you have jump on spacebar and C as your crouch.
Oh, okay.
If not, you can also do it on controller if you have like specific input. As long as you can do it with one hand, it makes it easier. Like if you have to use two hands, it makes it harder.
So do you glide from space to C, or do you
Yeah, you
use...
do space to C, and it is a very specific input.
But I mean, do you do that with your thumb, or do
Yeah,
you
with my thumb.
you do both buttons with your thumb?
Yeah, you kind of hit them at the same time, but the space bar is the one you want to go down first, if that makes sense. So you hit them at the same time, and if you see this little jump I'm doing, that means you're on the right path.
I think I just did it.
That's just a slide jump. Super glide is
Oh, is that what I did?
the super one. So you see that little jump? That's what it is. So if you keep going and try and get the input to where it's just jump crouch right as you kind of climb up, you get it. I don't know the exact moment, but it's
you jump.
Yeah.
You jump to start the mantle, and then that's when you do the crouch, or do you press jump again while you're mantling?
Here, when you're up here, or let me try and get on the climb up on here. When
Yep.
you get over, like when you just get over, that's when you want to put in the inputs. So
Can you do it from a hang?
Yeah, you can. I think you can. Right? Can you?
That's very hard.
Yeah, you can. It is very pixel input, so this would probably be the hardest one. Elad says jump, crouch 1 frame later. 1 frame.
Oh.
It's actually harder on higher frame rates.
Yeah, you can turn it into a slide pretty fast.
If you get the jump or the slide, you're on the right pace. You just gotta kind of like fine tune it until you get it. The easiest way and how everybody actually learns it is just to keep doing it, keep going until like you get the muscle memory. Like,
yeah.
Like this did not come easy. This is many hours. I don't know if we can actually get that.
Yeah, I don't think I've got hours to try this, but
All
I'm
right,
actually trying controller now.
here, three more tries, three more tries. All right, one.
I'm trying. Okay. So with controller, I wonder if you sweep from A to B.
Yeah, if you can do A to B like that, that'd be pretty easy. Like I use my bumpers for controller, so it's really hard for me.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we'll stop there, but it was worth a try. You,
Oh
you,
well.
you can see they're pretty hard to learn.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, you're not. It's not getting nerfed from me, so it's fine.
we took the controls away from you. You can't take it from me. You can't take it from me. All right, let's just answer a few small questions while we are doing this. Elad goes and asks, also, how did you come up with a solution for tech like slide hopping from Titanfall? So the bunny hop that happened in Titanfall.
How did we come up with the solution for it?
Yeah, to keep it from happening in this one.
Um.
Because you can bunny
Well,
hop, but it's not like the same.
yeah, you can bunny hop, but I think it's just like, I can't remember. Like, let's see, you definitely pick up speed in your first slide, which is an Apex thing, or sorry, a Titanfall thing. I think you lose it on the next one, or it gets diminished a lot on the next one.
Oh, is that
right? Is that how? Is that? I think that's how it works. So it's like your speed boost gets diminished over time. I think. Honestly, I don't really remember. That was like, I know it needs to be solved, and then somebody else went and solved it.
Yeah, especially since the sliding in this game isn't the same as in Titanfall. Titanfall has like a kind of a boosted slide that carries the momentum when you keep jumping.
Yeah, I mean this boosts you a little bit, I think, but not like Titanfall's.
Yeah, but it doesn't follow up. It's just kind of like a little short jump because
Yeah.
you have the lurches in this, which is where you don't jump as high every subsequent one, right?
Yep.
So that's also how we get the wall jumps, by the way, is through this. For some reason, when you hit a wall with a lurch, it does that.
Oh, I see.
Here, do you want to try that one?
Yeah, I mean,
So the trick.
You're just trying to make me look stupid on stream. Is that what this is?
No, this one's way easier. This one's way easier. So you can do this on controller. So all you gotta do, slide hop, and when you get to the wall, jump, let go of your movement stick, so no movement input, and hit jump when you connect to the wall, and it will do a wall bounce.
Like slide into it, jump, and then.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah, that's a wall bounce. So it's a very simple input compared to the super glide.
That's true. You know, when I was working on this game and I saw everyone doing it, I was like, how do you do that? And I tried a couple times and I was like, I don't know, that's beyond me. I just moved on.
Yeah, I didn't actually understand how to do it until I understood that this lurch jump is the trick.
Yeah.
If you bounce off a wall with this, it'll actually work. And
Gotcha.
slides activate into lurch. So when you slide jump, it already gives you it. That's the specific trick. That's it. That's literally it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Way easier than the super glide.
Oh, I'm getting a diamond now.
Now how about a tap strafe?
No, I don't want to.
No. All right. How about we do one last question then?
Yeah.
All right, I think we just got one. Let me see. I'm gonna give you one last question, just from Notorious Zeph that just happened. He goes and says, I'm curious for the POI changes. Was there ever a plan to gradually change some POIs leading up to the big change versus having a huge POI change in the next season? So was there ever like a attempt at gradual changes, or were they all kind of just like all in one?
That's an interesting. I don't know if we ever. I don't know. I'm trying to like rack my brain through all the POI changes, but I can't think explicitly of a time where we thought let's do step one and then step two. But it definitely happens naturally where you do step one and then you think like, yeah, that's good, and then a new idea comes, in a further season or the next time you want to edit the thing, and you just kind of like play off of the first idea. But I feel like Olympus maybe had something like that, but I'm trying to remember.
there
It's a
was, I
different
don't actually
headspace.
know. I don't actually know that one then. Kind of, here, Notorious F updates that kind of like having a teaser. That's definitely something you guys have done, like teasers to changes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the what geo teasers or what level design teasers have we done?
I mean, you've done one for Horizon. You've done the bunker room or like the labs room for crypto.
Well, those were like geo to tease a legend,
Mm-hmm.
which I really like doing those. Um,
I'm trying to think of other
as far
ones.
as like as far as like here's a teaser that something's gonna come to this POI.
Interesting.
I feel like I'm sure we've done that at some point, but nothing
Uh,
off the top of my head.
I mean, if you consider just like teasing an update on a map, then probably you've probably
Yeah,
done it plenty of
yeah,
times.
that's what
I'm
I'm
just trying to
thinking.
think. Was there what was there a specific teaser that happened for season 5 on the map at all, or do you remember?
I doubt it because we were like that was another like pretty big drop. We wanted to sort of shock and awe with that one.
Okay, that's fair. I think you did something for. I don't know if this was firing range or not, but I think you did something for season 6 where you brought the paintball weapons. I think. I'm trying to remember. This is a difficult one
Yeah,
to remember. This is like hard history
was that big mod
Yeah, Big
coming
Mud
and um
and Rampart.
yeah, yeah, that might be.
We'd have
Oh
to.
no, that was Rampart launch, right? So big mod came even after
Oh
that.
yeah, no, it did come out. This is harder than I thought. Zeph, you left
I
us on a
know.
hard one. We actually have to end it with I don't know. Oh
That's
no.
a diamond level question, and we're just platinum level
Yeah, we're
players,
just
so
plats.
sorry.
Damn, damn. All right. Well, as a final question to ask, Jason, I would like to ask you: Is there, if you were back in 2019, and we're back in 2018 developing this game, what would be the single thing you would want kept from your time playing if you had to relive it? What would you want to have be this exact same
Hmm. From my time
from your time developing? I should
playing,
say developing. Yeah.
developing. Um, wee.
So I got a pred level question for you.
I can actually probably come up with an answer here. I think it's probably the sort of like focus on the competitive angle of this game. Um, just starting to see this game turn into a competitive game was was really awesome, and it really kind of like when you're doing a live game, which this is the only live game I've worked on, so I kind of had to learn on the fly. But when you're working on a live game, it can easily just be more content, more content, more content, which can be sort of draining after a while creatively. Kind of like how many new ideas can you have for a single concept? Um, and so that could get pretty old after a while. And the fact that this game was being attached to by competitive esports and everything really gave it an angle to like focus everything around. Like what was important was obviously it needed content and it needed new legends and all that stuff, but could kind of always come back to like, are we doing things to make sure the game stays competitive and make sure we don't do anything that breaks competitive. It was just a really good through line. And then I've always thought this game is a million times better whenever you're playing to win. And that sounds kind of stupid to say, like obviously, right? But a lot of players kind of just not feeling like they want to be super sweaty and they just want to drop in and get some kills and fragment and just hot drop all night, and that's fine too. But hopping into ranked, and when you got a team that's actually like they're actually picking up your banner and reviving you, and they're actually sticking together and all that, like that's when the game is really good. So I would just want to keep. I hope that the devs just continue to care about that until until the community doesn't, you know.
Well, given the fact that currently ongoing is ALGS Year 4,
Hmm.
literally right now, as I'm
So
talking
cool.
about this,
Yeah.
I think we're good with Apex continuing to be a competitive game for a very long time. That's exciting. All
Yeah.
right, we are now here at the end. Thank you so much, Jason, for coming on by today. I hope you enjoyed having this little conversation, answering some questions, and
I
exploring the map
did.
once again.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for everybody that has been sticking around. I hope you enjoyed. For anyone who didn't have their question answered, I apologize. Tried to get as many in as we could as we were kind of going through. But either way, that is going to be it. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely day. Please make sure to go check out ALGS actually right now if you want to have some fun Apex action to do. In fact, you know what? I can actually raid somebody now that I think about it. Jason, do you think I should raid somebody?
I do.
Who do you think I should raid? If you know. If you don't, that's okay.
Um, I mean, I'm sure Nicewig's playing or streaming. Is he commentating? I don't know. He's involved, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he's doing a watch party right now. I don't know if I can raid him. Let me see. I don't think I can raid him. Yeah, I think he has raiding off. I'm unfortunately unable to raid Nicewig.
That's
Would you
unfortunate.
would you like me to raid Greek?
I would like that.
All right, we are going to raid Greek. So for everyone that is currently sticking around, please make sure to go enjoy ALGS over at Greek's Twitch channel. If you're on YouTube, you can also go over to twitch.tv/Greek to join in on the action. For now, however, that is going to be it for us. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day.